Peace and blessings, cool kids and hip hop heads. I have the mother of the mic, the first female MC to grace the microphone. MC Sha Rock,
Yeah,
what's popping?
yeah. It's me in the building. It's me in the building. What's good, brother? We're
Hey,
here.
first of all, thank you for your time. I know you're very busy. I really appreciate this. And we still on that 50 years of hip hop. And I want to talk
Oh, most
about
definitely.
I want to talk about the first time you were so young, the first time that you realized I can really do this. I really can do this.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So listen, we're talking about the 50-year anniversary of hip hop culture, right? And the way that I see it, I don't know how anybody else seeing it. And you're saying that we're still into it. But on August 11th, 1973, DJ Kool Herc gave his first party and the first, I should say, documented party at 1520 Cedric Avenue. His sister gave the party, trying to raise money, and they were getting ready to go back to school, in September. And what happened is she gave that party at 1520 Cedric Avenue, 1973, August 11th. But the way
Mm,
I see it is that, I'm a founding member of this MC rap culture, right? And
right,
I came into the game in 1976 as a B girl first. So I was a break dancer, before I became the first female MC of hip hop culture, in 77, right? But
right,
with that said, is that, I celebrate hip hop culture every day. All the aspects of the culture, the DJ, the MC, the graph artist, knowledge, and the B girl. I celebrate that all the day because I live it in my heart. It doesn't matter how old I am. There's no expiration date as to when hip hop culture and me playing a very important role expires. So when you're talking about hip hop culture and you're talking about August 11th, 1973, to me, technically, it can go all the way up. If you're just celebrating that year, it can go all the way up to 2024 of August 11th, because that's the full year of the 50 years of hip hop,
right.
of August 11th, 2024. But for me, I celebrate hip hop culture every day. Don't matter what age I am, I'm going to always live it because it's in my heart, as I said before. So when you ask me about, how did it feel? I started out as a B girl, going around, to all the parties and all the jams, that was in New York City, at the time. And basically, you know, um, it was a small community. So we basically knew everybody and anybody that was out there, whether or not you was a B boy, or B girl, we knew who was out there at that
Right.
time. So I was a nomadic B girl that would travel to listen to those break beats that are synonymous today. Some of the break beats that, a lot of, young kids or maybe DJs, whatever, may think that these, some DJs are the first to introduce those break beats, to the masses. But back in the days, I used to travel around just to hear those break beats. The James Browns, the Baby Hueys, those break beats that we used to stand around, and just listen to that part to come and just hit the floor or do our up rocks. After the blackout in 1977, at the end of 1977, I auditioned to be a part of this group that was called the Brothers Disco, and they were looking for MCs. They already had like one MC and another MC was about to come in, and we sort of kind of came at the same time. So, a young man that was a part of the crew, he was passing out flyers in front of my high school, and I had just came up, to Evander High School, which was in the uptown section of the Bronx. So even though I lived in the South Bronx, I went to school, on the uptown section of the Bronx, and so I, took on the opportunity to go and audition for the MC. And I took my friend with me, that I just met because she lived in the uptown section of the Bronx. So I just met her in high school. So I took her with me, not knowing the area. My mom was very protective of me, so I could
Right.
barely get
Right.
out of the house. You know what I'm saying? I had to be in the house by a certain time before the
Right.
lights went out. So, and I didn't know the area, even though I went to school up in the area. My friend that I took with me, she was from the largest projects or the housing area in New York City, which was crazy at that time. That was called Edenwald Projects. So I took her with me, you know, and say, look, I want you to just go ahead and just like, ride with me, just to have, somebody that was there with me. So she
Yeah.
went on
Yeah.
and she did it, whatever, whatever. But she got on the mic with me, but and she wasn't consistent with it. You know what I'm saying? for me, I had took it serious. And so at that point, the guy, who was the manager, he was called his name was Jazzy D. He was the brother of one of the DJs that was called DJ Breakout. And so once I wrote my rhyme on the bus, going down and coming back on the bus, to write my first rhyme so I can audition for this part. He loved the way that I rhyme and how my conviction was, that he said, okay, look, you're going to perform at the next party. And so couple of parties we did, at the end of 77. But by the time 78 came around, 1978, that is the crucial year of the MCs. And I say that because people will say, okay, well, if DJ Kool Herc started in 1973, then why did it take you so long at the end of 1977 to become the first female MC?
Right,
Because
right,
DJ Kool Herc only had he had an MC that was called Coke La Rock. So Coke La Rock was
right.
his first MC. He was also a DJ as well. And I knew him as a DJ, but I knew him as getting on the mic saying, some, things, announcing the parties, saying, a couple of bars, of rhymes, sort of like in that baritone, radio style voice that was at the time. When you turn on your radio, you would listen to, like the DJs or the radio personalities. 78, at the end of 78, 77, the beginning of 78 was the crucial year of the MCs, because that's when the dynamics of the MCs begin to change, right? And when I say change, what I'm talking about is that every way that you may hear a prolific MC or MC rhyming now, I was a part of that MC era that ushered in that new style, the cadence, the long-winded, not just 16 bars, 15 bars, 30 bars, 25. We would rhyme until you can rhyme no more. And if you was by yourself, you would pass it over to your like if you was with a group member, like you would pass it over to the next MC, because they knew your rhymes. And then you had like a bridge. Like if I say, to the beat that makes you want to rap, come on, Rodney C, cut out the crap, get on the mic and start to rap and let everybody know you can never be the whack. And they'll come in and be like, I hear ya, I hear ya, I hear ya, MC Sha Rock. We're going to rock to the beat so sweet, on down till your knees get weak. And that was the turnover of how MCs had begun to start rhyming. I was a part of that MC culture that ushered in the rhymes. I was part of the MC culture, a founding member of the culture that ushered in the long-winded rhymes, the routines that you may see, like the Wu-Tang game, or you may see anybody that's a part of the group going back and forth with
Right.
routines, bringing in the next partner. I am the first female MC of hip hop culture that ushered in and helped created that style of rhyming format.
And people also said you was like the first to shout out different crews
Yeah,
and
yeah.
within what you was doing,
And so let me bring it back to your
showing
audience
love.
that
Yeah.
may, yeah, let me bring it back to your audience. Sha Rock wasn't just a female MC, right? There was a lot of things that I ushered in when we're talking about hip hop culture now. To me, hip hop culture, and I say this, you may see it in different interviews and stuff, because this is what I live by. It is not just about the rap aspect, it's about celebrating all of the elements of the culture, of the core culture that is called what hip hop. And my only problem is that, if you listen out there and you say you hip hop, you cannot say that you represent the art of the MC if you don't know where somebody say ho, or you don't know where hip, the term hip hop comes from. You cannot claim hip hop if you don't know where it originated from, and you don't show respect to the men or the people or the women that bring it forward for you to be able to celebrate in that manner and say hip hop out of your mouth. So I'm going to go back to the question and what you asked, but I want to talk about the MC, and I want to talk about hip hop, and I want to talk about the terms that are so popular right now that a lot of people are getting paid off of, but they don't show the respect of the origins of where it came from. So I'm going to take you to hip hop. Now, a lot of people may have heard, the term hip hop. Uh, you know, uh, it came from Keith Cowboy. And what happened was Keith Cowboy was a part of the three MCs. The three MCs were Grandmaster, was Melly Mel, Key Creole, which was Melly Mel's brother, and Keith Cowboy. Now,
Cowboy.
Cowboy was Grandmaster Flash's first MC. The three MCs were a part of the original group before they became the Furious Four and before they became Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. They started off as three MCs. Cowboy was Grandmaster Flash's first MC. And
R.I.P.
so,
to that
it,
brother.
you say what?
R.I.P. to that brother, Cowboy.
Yeah, rest in peace, Cowboy. Yes, rest in
Okay.
peace. And so what happened? He passed away many, many, many years ago. So what happened with Cowboy was like he had a friend that was going into the military, and so Cowboy said to him, they walking. He said, "Okay, so what you gonna do? You gonna go into the army? And you gonna start saying that hip hop." And so he was like, "Yeah, yeah." So Cowboy took it to another level. Cowboy started saying hip hop in his rhymes, and we all begin to start saying hip hop in our rhymes. Okay, but what happened was how we looked at it within the hip hop culture is that Love Bug Starsky which was like the bridge. He had celebrated and honored like all the elements of hip hop culture as opposed to some DJs. Love Bug Starsky was the catalyst and the bridge between disco and hip hop because he still had that baritone disco voice, right? And he still had the cadence of like rapping in the disco style, but he was the crossover because hip hop, the culture of hip hop and everything in it respected him because he was jamming at our parties as well. And that was the difference between disco DJs and hip hop DJs. Now, like when we talking about the disco DJ and hip hop DJs, the disco DJs and I need to go back. I need to go back because I'm all over the place and I want to talk about the hip hop. So once Cowboy started saying hip hop, and we as all MCs from Melly Mel to Sha Rock, to Raheem to a Cowboy, and all of us, we started using the term hip hop in our rhymes. Lubbock Starkey is the one who really made it popular, right?
Okay.
And then by 1981, at the end of 80, 81, Africa Bambaataa was the one who put all the elements together and said, okay, I'm going to take this globally. I'm going to say this is the culture, of hip hop. So he took it on a global level. And so what I want people to understand is that when you talk about hip hop, you got to know the origins from. Everybody's out there talking about, I'm celebrating the anniversary of hip hop culture, the 50th stuff. But let's give credit to the man who put it in a rhyme and celebrated to make this $1 billion business, just that term. Because we're talking about the 50th anniversary of hip hop culture, and everybody and their mothers was trying to capitalize off of the term hip hop, but never gave credit to cowboy. And
Mm,
we know hip hop that's been around. Those are words that've been around. But when you're talking about the culture, cowboy is the one who put it in place. And not one time have I heard anybody showing respect and love to cowboy who had
mm,
made this big, just that term in hip hop, $1 billion business. Cool Herc wasn't even calling it hip hop. So let's give that credit to cowboy for coining the term hip hop. You understand what I'm saying? So
right,
now
right,
let's go to somebody say ho. We all say it. You hear it at the venues. You
right,
come out the
right.
crowd, you get the crowd engaged. You know what I'm saying? You want the crowd to say somebody say ho, but what you don't know, and if you did know, you never found out where those terms come from. We know, like, at some point somebody could have said ho, but how was it used in the terms of hip hop culture to celebrate the b-boys, the graph artists, the MCs, the DJs? And what happened was there was two sisters, Debbie and Terry. They used to go to Grandmaster Flash's three MCs, the Furious Four MCs, and Grandmaster Flash's Furious Five MCs parties. And so in the beginning, they were in the parties and they were like, they used to walk around the parties and say, ho, ho, right? And so everybody looking at them like they crazy because they saying it. But once again, Cowboy was the one who took the term, somebody say ho, and used it.
Right,
Understand? And this is where all of that come from. All the stuff that we're using today, and everybody and their mothers want to title 50th anniversary of hip hop culture. Look, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real because I'm about the history. I'm about the history and telling what went going on. I mean, what went on and exactly what happened, and you not celebrating the people
right,
who made it possible for you to make this $1 billion business. I have a problem with that. You understand what I'm saying? And
right,
so, with that saying, I'm a representative of the culture. I'm a ride to the culture and all the elements that represent it from the beginning. And you asked me about me bringing and bringing and shouting other groups out. And I knew that that's what I was doing. But I had Grandmaster Flash, and I had some of the members, of the Furious 3, Furious 4, and then Furious 5 MC say to me, look like Sha Rock. We know you were the first female MC of hip hop culture. We know that you were out there on that ground floor with us when from the beginning, what I'm saying, when there was no women out there in the beginning. Yes, women came after, but when you're talking about being the first female MC on the scene, and let me tell you how Sha Rock is just more than an MC, right? Because I am the first female MC to ever help create MC rap battles. You understand what I'm saying? And that
Whoa.
started. Right. Listen, I ain't telling y'all no lie. Y'all listen to what I'm telling you. I got receipts from cassette tapes to flyers to authentic flyers showing that there was no people battling unless you may have DJs battling, but the MCs wasn't battling, right? The first battles came out through Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Four and the Funky Four, my group. See, I came before the Funky Four plus one. The Funky Four is a group that I helped create it when I started with that first audition, right? Because in
Right.
77, I was rhyming before we became the Funky Four. By the beginning of 78, it was only three of us, right? That was rhyming, and it was a couple of other people that would get on the mic. But how the Funky Four came together is because we used to rhyme with Breakout. We had two DJs, DJ Breakout and DJ Barron. A lot of us rhyme with Breakout, whenever he put on the records, he played the break beats, whatever. But DJ Barron played the songs that, was just like the beats that you could just hear from like R&B music or something like that, where you could just hear your voice clear. So Barron wanted his own MC. And so he wanted his own C as to so much that Raheem, that was a part of my group first, the original Funky Four. We were the Funky Four. Raheem, KK Rockwell, Keith, and myself. We were the original Funky Four. Now Raheem went on later to become Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. So let me take you back. Raheem started with me as the Funky Four. Even though he was rhyming, we were the original Funky Four. We used to battle Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Four. Uh, Melly Mel, Melly Mel's brother, Kid Creole,
Kick
right?
real.
Also, Keith Cowboy, and then later Mr. Ness, aka Scorpio. Those were the original Furious Four MCs. So now we battling them, right? And sometimes people will say we won. Sometimes people will say they won, and we used to go back and forth. What happened was it was this one battle that my group members felt like Raheem threw the battles because he wanted to go over there with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Four.
Whoa.
And so they felt like he threw the battle. But the thing was is that we would win a lot. Well, we felt like we would win a lot simply because we had the edge, and the edge was that we were MCs. Now Mel was the prolific MC. Creole, he was. I mean, all of them. Everybody in the Furious Four brought so much to the game where we felt like they were only our competition. But because they had a female MC, and I model my 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 um my style. You know what I'm saying? I said, well, if people are watching Mel, then I'm gonna go right and I'm gonna be this prolific MC. And when I rhyme, I'm gonna come hard and I'm gonna command the crowd and I'm gonna hit them both. I'm gonna hit them with the men and I'm gonna hit them with the women. And that's what I did. But Raheem was the singer, he was the harmonizer. And this is how we was winning with the Furious Four at first, because we were doing routines, we were doing we would take sitcoms, like Gilligan's Island, that was a sitcom back then. We would switch it up. You know what I'm saying? We would take Michael Jackson's songs, and Raheem did this, take Michael Jackson's songs and switch it up into a Funky Four song, or
Okay.
whatever the lyrics was, or the Jackson 5 lyrics. We would switch it up. And this is how we was winning in the beginning, because we was taking songs from sitcoms, singing it, putting in our routines, doing all of that. And this is how the Funky Four was like right there with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Four, right?
Mm.
So what happened was they felt like Raheem wanted to go over to the Furious Four at the time. So they felt like he threw the battle. And this is how the battle broke up. I mean, this is how, the Funky Four broke up. and they wound up getting Raheem, and they became the Furious Five because Raheem and I, we lived in the same building in the Bronx, Lambert Projects. We lived in the same building. We were very close, brothers and sisters. We were close, so I never knew why they kicked him out of the group. I found this. Well, they say they kicked him out, and I found out later is because they felt like he threw the
Battle.
battle. And so what I said, okay, well, you know what, Raheem, that's my brother. Until they had told me what happened, I was like, but I'm leaving too. So I left. And this happened in 1979, right before the slew of rap records came out. Now, mind you, we rocking the culture forward before rap records. So Sha Rock didn't just come out when y'all heard That's the Joint or rapping and rocking the house. I'm on the ground floor. I'm on the front line. I'm moving the culture forward. You understand what I'm saying? This is
Yeah.
what I'm doing in the culture of hip hop. Now, some people out in the world, they didn't know what was going on in New York City, but a lot of people did because of the cassette tapes, and I'm gonna get to that. And so what happened was Raheem left. I left in the same month, right? When I left, the manager wind up getting two more new members. All right. So that was Jazzy Jeff and that was Rodney C. So they became the formed Funky Four. Within a month, I came back because every summer, no matter what, even at my age, I still went down south, because I was born in Wilmington, North Carolina. So, I would always go down south, to go to the beaches, whatever, whatever. So by the end of July, like the end of July, the manager Jazzy D invited me to come out to a party, and I went to something that they was having in the parks, right? And so he asked me to get on, and so I got on, and people started going crazy because they know I left. So he said, "Look, I got an idea. The force here. I want you to come up to my house, next week, and we'll practice. I want you to join, the group." And so that's when I became the Funky Four. I mean, that's when we became the Funky Four plus one. And this is 79. This is like,
Right.
by August of 79, with a Funky Four plus one. So let's go back. Once I joined the Funky Four plus one, Raheem also went over to the Furious Four and they became the Furious Five.
Furious Five. Okay.
Right. And so what happened was we at it again. We battling. We still good. We calling everybody out. The Funky Four saying, okay, look, we got five. Sha Rock is back with us. We the best group in the town. And we still battling. You understand? But we were the first crews to introduce the art of battling. And
Wow.
regardless of what somebody say, they can't prove it because they don't have the flyers. It is what it is. And then people have begun to start holding battle contests, for people around the world. And you could probably see, who was the well-known groups at that time or soloists at that time by the battle flyers that had begun to start surfacing, like, in the early 80s. You know what I'm saying? That's when you would have been able to see, who was a part of the battle circuit. But the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Four and the Furious Five and the Funky Four and the Funky Four plus one, we helped create that onset of the MC battles. We started the MC battle culture, right? So when you have people like Grandmaster Flash, and then you have like like Millie Mel, or you have like Mr. Ness, or Scorpio from the Furious Five. There's like, look, Sha Rock, we know you there. Say you ain't gotta say nothing. We gonna speak up for you because of the different types of things that you going on now with people trying to change the narratives or don't
Yeah.
know, but they was like, look, we rock and roll Hall of Famers, we Grammy winners, you know what I'm saying? We say it, what I'm saying? No matter what kind of proof I had, when they listened to them and they listened to Grandmaster Flash and Sha Rock, there was no other females out there. She had to deal with a Grandmaster Flash. She had to deal with Hurt. She had to deal with African Bambaataa, and no females was messing with Sha Rock. Yeah, they came later, but they was not out there holding it down like Sha Rock is. And you could hear Grandmaster Flash say that. You could hear Scorp and Melly Mel say that. So what you were talking about early when you say about me calling crews out, I became the first MC, not just a female MC, but the first MC to ever bring groups together by calling and shouting their names out. And Scorp from the Furious Five, he talks about this. It's online. You can see it. He talks about how none of us as groups got along back then because we were in competition, right?
Right. Right.
We were always competitive against each other. So we in competition. So what happened was I took the initiative. I used to call people names out. You know what I'm saying? Like my crew. I made sure that I called my crew out. I was the first female MC, to ever have a female hype crew. So when you see Flavor Flav out there with the Public Enemy or
Chuck
whatever,
D. Yeah.
I'm the first female MC to have a hype crew. And what happened was they were my hype crew and they were my security crew. They were called the Sisters Disco. So whenever we go someplace, they would help set up the equipment. They would help protect me. So if anybody had any beef, which I never did, they was there to protect me. And they were also there to go into the crowd to get the crowd hype. So when I said a rhyme, they knew my rhyme. They would go out in the crowd, and while I'm rocking on stage, right? They saying my rhyme. So they get the whole New York City to start saying my rhyme too. This is how Sha Rock became synonymous, within New York City. Because if they were not able to attend parties, and if they was not able to hear cassette tapes from that party, then by the time they came to the next party, they would know the rhymes if they went the time before, or if they had heard it on the cassette tapes. And so
Right.
what Scorp says, and I'll go back to, I'm the first female MC and the first MC to bring groups together. Not only did I shout out my crew names, but because we were in competition together, all crews in New York City, no one shouted out nobody name. Because when you step on that stage, it was like you was battling to be the best in New York City.
Right.
So
Right.
I broke the barrier by calling out the Furious Five's name. And I did that first with Scorpio. And so I used to say, Mr. Ness, Sister Scorpio, Mr. Ness, Sister Scorpio. And he would be watching me, you know what I'm saying, while I'm performing. And so he tells the story of me making it so comfortable for me to shout out his name and start shouting out all the other, MC names and groups that I was in competition with. I would shout out their name to make it comfortable for them to say, look, yo, go on your skills. Y'all ain't got to worry about the next person being a threat to y'all, because as long as y'all in y'all house and y'all practicing and y'all doing what he got, I'm gonna shout your name out because I respect y'all.
Mm.
If my crew or nobody else shout your name out, I'm gonna shout your name out because we in it together. We MCs. May the best MC win. But I'm gonna show love to say that I respect y'all. So I'm the first female and the first person to ever shout out any group's names
Mm.
in New York City. And what he says is that, so when you hear Shaq and you hear, them calling out people, or CNN, shouting out somebody else, or they shouting out, this person on the microphone, and you hear Shaq shouting out other team names and Kobe, right, of the other team names.
Right.
He said, show love to Sha Rock because she started it by shouting out and giving respect to the shout outs. You know what I'm saying? Of other groups and other teams and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Wow.
how that came about. Yes. And
Wow.
it's
You
about showing
dropped
love.
you
Oh
dropped some
yeah, oh
heavy
yeah.
stuff on us, man. And not only that, the
I ain't
first
finished that. I ain't
I,
finished
oh,
that, but go ahead. No, go ahead. Ask your question.
because I was gonna go on to like the first hip hop artist to be on television.
Yes, 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 yes. But I want to take you back, and I'm gonna bring you there because now we're talking about industry. I'm taking you back to hip hop, right?
Right.
So when you talk about hip hop, I'm the first female MC to ever be on cassette tapes. So when you hear the mixtapes now, the DJ Clues, the Kid Capris and all of that stuff, it was the same thing, but it was cassette tapes.
Right.
We just didn't call it mixtapes, we call it cassette tapes. Because what
Mm.
happened was the DJs used to cut on the turntables, right?
Right.
And you would have certain people or certain establishments, and I'll use one for instances, that he was called Richie T. He had owned the T Connection. That was a spot that was considered like one of the Madison Square Gardens of hip hop before they even allow us to come in Madison Square Garden. It had a stage, and all of that stuff. But these were like premier artists that would come to the uptown Bronx, White Plains Road, Gun Hill Road, and try to perform. And so what happened was, Richie T owned the T Connection, but he also had a store, where he used to sell cassettes and records, and it was called Rhythm Did, and it was located on East Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. So Unbeknown to us, he used to tape and record all of our
You
joints that we perform. So if the DJ is cutting, on the turntables and rhyming and we rhyming and all that stuff, he had tapes of all of us coming in there. And he used
wow.
to go back to his record store and sell those cassette tapes, right? And back then we didn't know the marketing, we didn't know the marketing type things. We didn't know, how people was getting money. Like, 'cause we teenagers, like now he's an older man, he's an adult. He knows how this is moving. But we know marketing far as hip hop on the streets, passing out flyers, getting people to come. And I want to say to your audience, there were three major forms of the way that MCs and the music and the culture of hip hop was spreading, especially when you're talking about hip hop music within hip hop. It spread, and the parties in the hip hop spread through word of mouth. It spread through authentic hip hop flyers, and it spread through cassette tapes. And so, because I became the first female MC to ever be on cassette tapes, you had luxury car companies, right? Car companies that you call today that are Uber and Lyft. You call them up, you can get a luxury car. A lot of times, they put their stuff on the Uber and Lyft app. But back then in 1978, it was called the OJ. So what the OJ used to do is, like, I can call the OJ up, right? And I'd be like, look, I need to be at the T Connection. I need to be at Harlem World. I need to be at Disco Fever. I need to be at any jam that I wanted to go to. My driver was called 100. So the dispatch would say 100, 100, 100. Sha Rock is at the T Connection. How long for Sha Rock? Can you pick up Sha Rock? And the OJ drivers, somewhat similar to Lyft and somewhat similar to Uber, you could ride with them for $25 an hour and go all over New York City, anywhere you want to go up and down the 95 corridor, as long as you paid that $25 an hour.
Yeah.
But this is how hip hop spread up and down the 95 corridor too. It's because those uh, OJ drivers were friends with people like Sha Rock. They were friends with people like Grandmaster Flash or Melly Mel, or some of the Funky Four members. They were friends, or later, the Cold Crush Brothers. They were friends with us. So they were able to get those cassette tapes straight from our hands. And this is how each OJ driver became popular, and they were able to meet their quota and make their money, because if they had the most bangingest, cassette tapes, then people would call them up, and that's how they made their money, because they could
Wow.
ride. They could be riding, skidding against the curb, going all on the curbs, and you could be dipping and diving, riding while they rocking and playing the cassette tapes that were popular in hip hop culture, right? So I became the first female MC ever to be on cassette tapes, right? And the cassette tapes is out there. And so, with that said, that's one of the ways that hip hop music, and the culture of hip hop, and everybody that was, in the culture of hip hop, like the B girls and the B boys and all of that stuff, was able to maintain the culture by even just listening to those beats and going to the parties and breakdancing. So if they didn't make it to the parties, they were able to purchase those cassette tapes that was synonymous, within hip hop culture.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
We talking about, and so now you took it forward and you said Saturday Night Live. Yes, the Funky Four Plus One was the first to be on Saturday Night Live. We actually was the first even to be on even cable network, TV shows, but that was local within New York City, But when you're talking about Saturday Night Live, and I tell the story because the story is real, you know, um, she knew, and I say Debbie Harry from the legendary rock group Blondie. A lot of people call her Blondie, but Blondie was the group. Debbie Harry was the lead singer of the group, and the group was
Right.
called Blondie. And the thing is that she was hosting Saturday Night Live, one year, and she had heard about us through the circus that we were traveling in. Because when you're talking about Sha Rock not only being the first MC, but I was the first female MC to go and play in other genres of music. And I'm talking about the white punk rock clubs, the Ritzes, the mud clubs, the kitchens, the clubs that was not introduced to hip hop culture. And this is where you would hear the Beastie Boys saying, well, the first party that I went to was a party that the Funky Four, you know, um, gave. Now, even if they changed their story up, there's video out there, and we have the footage just saying the first party that we went to was a party that was given by the Funky Four. And that would have been downtown in the punk rock clubs. So I was the first MC, the first female MC to ever go outside of the genre of African American people. I went to play in front of punk rockers, the white establishments, the Ritz or whatever. And so because we were going down there, we were asked to come down there through those owners. Why? Because we brought that different type of energy, to the establishments of the Soho and arena, right? And so what happened was Debbie Harry heard about us, from being down there. And so she could have went and got anybody that she wants. She could have went to Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five because they were out there, had records and had popular records and people know. But one of the reasons why we was told in the beginning is because she wanted the world to see what was going on back in the Bronx. And no doubt MC Sha Rock was the female of that group. So she wanted, and even though she was the lead singer and everybody else is men, she sort of kind of related to me being a female, a part of a group. And especially that we looked young and we was like the most she knew. She heard about us being the most popular in the street, along with the Furious Five, Grandmaster Flash and Furious Five. But she wanted the world to see a young female like her in her group. You know what I'm saying? She being the lead singer, you know what I'm saying, in her group. She wanted the world, she wanted the world to be able to connect, and see these young teenagers building this business, showing the world what we were doing back in New York City and the Bronx, and it
Man,
happened.
thank I. Hey, I want to thank you, man. Hip Hop 101, bringing the receipts. Sha Rock, we really appreciate you. Any last words you want to give the solo before we get there? What's going on with Luminary Icon? What's going on with that?
And what you're talking about? You're talking about the movie, right? The
Yeah,
biopic, right? Okay, so back in 2019, right? I retired from law enforcement, and I retired from all these years, of everybody wondering where Sha Rock been at. I wasn't on no drugs, I wasn't doing nothing. I was working in law enforcement, right? But I also kept hip hop close to my heart. And I knew I had to separate it, and I didn't want nobody to know who I was in that industry. So I kept a low profile. It wasn't until social media started coming out, right? And they start seeing me on TV and they start doing documentaries and all that stuff and stuff. So my cover was busted, right? And so for like almost 25 years, in 2019, I said, man, you know what? It's time for me to go. I can't do it no more. You know what I'm saying? Because they would see me on TV and then they'll come in, they'll get arrested and come in through the jail and be like, that's Sha Rock, Officer Jackson, that's Sha Rock. And they started passing kites, right? They started passing kites and say that's Sha Rock. And then they started asking me for record deals and they'll go out and tell their friends, then come back in over the weekend, get arrested again and tell a friend and friend and friend and friend. So I basically became a liability, really, I thought too, because it's like I had contact, one-on-one contact with them. At first, I was a training officer, and then I used to had to go and actually give them their supplies. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that they had everything that they needed. So I had like physical contact with them, in there. And then it was like it was too much. So in 2019, I said, you know what, I'm gonna retire. Now it's the time for me to retire. But I always knew that I wanted to tell my story because a lot of people out there didn't know the story. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't talking. You figured that if somebody else was there, but I knew I had a plan. I knew that I couldn't do it. I couldn't tell the story then. So while I'm in law enforcement, every day I used to write. I used to write my story, my book, everything. And so I wrote my book like in 2010, 2011. And I gave it some time and I said, okay, by 2019, I'm going to find out when is the exact date that I could retire. And I did that. And so I went in. I initiated Dana Dane. I found out that Dana Dane was a writer and I initiated him. If anybody out there know Dana Dane is, he made the song Cinderfella. We
right,
became good
right.
friends. Right. So I enlisted him to help me write the script. So I went, told my background, this and that. But what I also did was I said, you know what? I need to reinvent myself or reintroduce myself because I can come out with a movie, but I need to build up and let everybody know what really went down. So I fell back on the movie and begin to start resurfacing with receipts, from cassette tapes, from documentaries, from authentic hip hop flyers. And then you had Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and everybody, that came along and start telling people, this is who she is. This was the only one that was out there with us in the beginning. And so once I build up, the world is big, right? A lot of people still don't know. But my thing was that I had to reintroduce myself and build up the history and give y'all artifacts and give y'all receipts and show y'all what I'm saying is the truth. Because I know even now, even with you can still put the truth in people's face and they still come up with some other shit, that they can't prove. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is that, for the people that y'all believe, you know what I'm saying, from the Grammy winners to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame members that are vouching and verifying who I am and what I did for the culture. I feel now it's time, to find somebody that is true to my story, that they won't change the story, and they tell it exactly how it was. And they have my best interest at heart. And this is why I hold off, because I said one thing I will never do is allow anybody to pimp me how I was pimped in the beginning when I first started. You understand? And so, as long as the history is out there and I'm telling it, I'm going to do the movie, but I got to make sure that somebody is covering me and is going to tell my history that's going to benefit hip hop culture, African American history, Black history, hip hop history, my family's history, that they're going to tell the truth in its right manner and then come with the receipts as I have. So
Sha
that's what I'm
Rock,
working on now.
thank you. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for your
Thank you, sir.
contribution to hip hop. And we're going to keep your name alive and try to keep the story as authentic as you have.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I want to send a shout out to Soul Logistics Radio, making sure that my story continues. And I appreciate y'all and I appreciate everybody that's rocking with Sha Rock out there. And also, let me shout out the Academy Award. I'm sorry, the Academy Music and also the Grammys, because just last month they hit me up and they're like, Sha Rock, we doing a 50th anniversary of hip hop culture and we need you there. So shout out to Questlove, LL Cool J, and everybody that sat on that board that my name came up. So on November 8th, I would be in Los Angeles at the YouTube Theater with Latifah, with Yo-Yo, with Light, with Little Kim, with Lotto, with all the phenomenal female MCs. I will be on that stage with them celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop culture.
We're going to check it out. Once again, appreciate you. Peace
Thank
and
you.
blessings, sister.
Thank you. Peace, everybody. Shout out to hip